All right, so this is our December 20th, 2021 meeting. First up on our agenda is a public safety update. I did see that Officer Domenico had joined, and Joe is on here as well.
Yes, hi, I'm here. This is Officer Domenico.
Hey, you can feel free to take it away if you like.
All right, we'll just go over a couple things quick. First of all, happy holidays to everybody. And the crime rate up in Oriole Heights section of East Boston has been very low. I just went back to some of the reports since December 1st. Hasn't been much. There's been 2 car breaks, one on Waldemar Ave and one on Bennington Street. And one of the vehicles, he told that our officers that he responded that he did leave the doors open. So please, when you're going at nighttime for the night, try to lock those doors in the cars, because it's just an open opportunity for everybody to open the car and take what they want. And we had a larceny from a construction site on Chaucer Street, which some tools and equipment was stolen. There's been no serious crimes. There's been no homicides, commercial breaks, or house breaks since December 1st, which is very good news. Also, there's been no package thefts in the area. And that's kind of unheard of, during this holiday season, but it's been very good for all of us. There's no reported overdoses, and we've had our usual serious motor vehicle accidents, most of them occurring on McCullen Highway and, on the Boardman Street area, which is kind of a speedway during the nighttime. There's been a couple of counterfeiting incidents. One person's checkbook was hacked into, another one was scammed over the phone, but she didn't give anything up, which was good. We also had a couple of motor vehicles that were towed as a result of motor vehicle stops, which is always good. It just shows that our guys are out there doing some motor vehicle enforcement, which is good for everybody because it slows people down and it gets vehicles off the street that are unregistered, uninsured, and gets people off the street that are driving without a license. And that's about all I have to say. It's hopefully maybe somebody has some questions we can answer.
Hey, Tommy, before the question, I just want to jump in for a second. Hi, everyone. Polo here. Happy holidays. I just want to touch on a few things. Just around the city, not in particular the Heights, the motor vehicle accidents are up a lot. And the drug overdoses and alcohol abuse is up a lot too. So we have, it's called the HUB program out of the CSO office. We work with mental health physicians from North Suffolk Mental Health, nurses and doctors from the health center. And we specialize on these people have any mental health issues. And I know a lot of people don't want to come forward to speak up on a family member or a friend, but I'm seeing way too many reports of the drug overdose and some incidents involved with alcohol abuse. We're here to help in any way. We work directly with the people who can help. It's one of the main things we do here. And so don't be afraid to give me a call, give me an email, and we can help out that family member or friend. And yeah, I know the Heights has been great, but the package thefts and the phone scams are still up. I know I've been speaking at nauseum about them. Yeah, you guys are actually listening. You guys have had a good go of it the past month. And one other thing, just with the snow and the real cold weather coming, just check on your seniors, the neighbors, just make sure they're okay. And with that, now we can take some questions.
We have a question from Gail Miller in the chat asking, I know it's not at the Heights, but any details you can share, info about the shooting at Shelby Street?
So we cannot share much right now. It's still an active investigation. There was a homicide there. I don't even know what the particulars are yet, what it was over. I know it wasn't, a domestic situation. That's still under heavy investigation. It was isolated. It was people who knew each other. So if people take that as you will, that it's not a guy going around just firing, a gun off. But maybe I can have more to give you at the next meeting. But we really don't want to speak too much on this. something little information that we give out can ruin the investigation, and that's not what we're here for. But we're here for tell you it's not an issue where people are going around just shooting or stabbing, and it's something you have to look over your shoulder. But it was an isolated incident that people knew each other, and things happen. Unfortunate that happened. I'm sorry if that doesn't, if you don't get much from that, but maybe next month's meeting.
The only question that I have is, do you happen to have an updated contact sheet? Because I think the most recent one we have has Dan Simon still on it.
Yes, I'll have Leah. I thought I asked someone to do that. I think you asked me for this already, right?
Yeah. I'm just curious because you mentioned folks reaching out if they have any issues. So.
Yep. Nope. I'll make a note of that now and have Leah send it out to you in the morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
I just see one more comment from Gail in the chat saying that's a concern whether it was more random.
Yeah, of course. Yes. And I most likely those questions I've asked, we do know that what the concern was, but no, it wasn't random. This is people knew each other. So take that as you will. Still unfortunate.
Doesn't look like we have any additional questions coming up.
Okay, well, happy holidays, everyone. Be safe out there.
Happy holidays to you too.
Thank you.
If any more questions pop up, I'll share them with you. And when we have that new contact sheet, we'll send it out. Although the old one should still be available. I think it's on our Facebook page. I'm not sure it's on our website, but
yeah, no, I definitely. Oh, but in the meantime, you can use mine, and if I have to hand it off to somebody else, I will.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
All right. The rest of our agenda for this evening will mostly be me talking. It's fairly light. I'll share the agenda here. It's not very exciting because it is just a document, but I figure it's better than just watching me talk. So as of, well, it was announced today, but it's not starting today. There are new COVID vaccine requirements across the city of Boston. Starting on January 15th of next year, people will be required to show proof of vaccination against COVID in order to enter certain indoor spaces. So that's like bars, restaurants, nightclubs, gyms, entertainment venues. There's a full list here at the boston.gov website. That will also be sent along. Actually, I think it was included in today's email, but we'll send it along with the meeting minutes as well. Employees working in those spaces will also be required to be vaccinated. Businesses will also need to check proof of vaccination and post a notice stating that it is required. So to enter one of those establishments, you will need to either have your physical vaccination card, an image of your vaccination card, an image of any other official immunization record, or the city designated app, which I'm not sure exists yet. I tried finding this. I think they might just be future proofing this statement. But there are other COVID vaccine verification apps out there that you can use if that's the route that you want to go. So this starts January 15th. The requirement is that people over the age of 12 must show proof of one dose of the vaccine. That goes up to full vaccination status for folks over the age of 12 starting February 15th. March 1st, children aged 5 to 11 must have one dose. And then Sunday, May 1st, everyone 5+ must have full proof of vaccination. We're also providing a little link here to the boston.gov website. They have like a map of where you can get vaccinated if you need a booster or your first dose, whatever it may be. And that is that update. So we had a design review committee meeting on the 2nd this month. There was just one proposal. This was for 95 Barnes Avenue. The proposal was to erect a dormer, remodel the 3rd floor, and add a roof deck to the existing 2-family dwelling. I'll go through the notes here. What I have in bold is like the initial comment or question that came from folks. And then what is not in bold is the response from the attorney that was presenting. I have no problem with them doing dormers renovations, but I have a huge problem with them adding the deck because it's like another unaccounted for story. The response to that was, the deck is not an additional story. The dormers will come out of the sides with a see-through finish out the deck. It is not 4 stories and it is under 35 feet, but because dormers are considered habitable, it means going to 3 stories from the existing 2.5. Another comment was the addition of the deck space is not adding height, but the appearance is massive because of the size of the dormers. The dormers look like boxes sticking out from each side. Would like to see dormers coming out the back of the house with the roof deck also facing the rear. Multiple people expressed concern about adding a master suite that could be utilized as a potential 3rd unit. The response to that was the top floor is a master suite for unit 2. So there are no additional units and it will be permitted as a 2-family. The certificate of occupancy would maintain a 2-family, and the only way to change it to 3-family would be to go through the process again, and that would trigger violations and other variances. The intent is to give the homeowners more space to grow and stay, as they've been in Orient Heights for 10 years, moved from Jeffreys Point, and they want to grow their family. The unit 2 is owner occupied, and unit 1 would be the rental. The next piece of feedback is looking at the massing model / rendering, the cladding material on that 3rd story is not in any way keeping with the architecture of the building. I know that you explained early on that you would clad in shingles, but what we're looking at right now is awful, and I can't assume that they're going to clad this with Alcubond or zinc or standing seam metal. If you're going to present this to the wider community, the architect should provide better renderings that represent the house. I may want to do something similar with my own home, but not like this, as I would keep with the gables of the house. The response to that was, the idea was to color the dormers to blend in with the roof. That's why they went with the coloring they did in the rendering. And the response from folks in the community was that occupiable space should be clad and staying the same as the existing dormers, which was a red siding. And the final couple bits of feedback that we had on this proposal was an individual saying, I'm sensitive to the concerns of direct abutters about having a roof deck up there. Personally, I'm not going to lose a wink of sleep if someone's going to be up there getting a tan. That doesn't bother me, but the aluminum railing for the deck doesn't fit in. And some others opposed a more solid railing for the roof deck as it would impede on abutters' sight lines. So that's a recap of how our design review committee meeting on the 2nd went.
Tony, if I could just interject quickly, I wanted to say my name is Derek Dolan and I'm the owner of that project along with my wife, Chelsea. And just wanted to say apologize again to everyone that we were not able to attend the meeting and had to have our attorney present on our behalf. You know, we had, as they mentioned, we had that rehearsal dinner that unfortunately I did not realize was the same night. So again, apologize that we weren't able to make it. And, you know, thank you all again for, you know, considering our project and the renovation we're trying to do. I will say that I probably should not be tanning on the roof deck. I am very Irish, and although my wife probably would enjoy that. But yeah, you know, the roof deck's something we're just always wanted to have. But again, I listened to the input you just provided, Tony, and I also listened to the meeting before. Thank you everybody for your insights and your input on the project. We've already made some changes that I know we'll be discussing again at the next meeting in January. But again, just wanted to say apologies for not making the last meeting. Do want to be involved in the process and the neighborhood. So look forward to discussing with everybody next meeting, and you know, happy holidays to everyone as well.
Thanks. Happy holidays to you too. This last little bit, if I can stop right clicking, the Route 1A Corridor Study public information meeting occurred on December 8th. They are accepting feedback right now via an online form until January 7th. I think we already shared this along with the agenda that we sent out, the feedback form, but we can also, it'll be with the meeting minutes as well, just in case you don't have it. There was another stakeholders meeting or like working group meeting, but it was mostly, this was right before the public meeting, so it was mostly just going over what was going to be presented at the public meeting. So I don't really have anything additional to share there. They might be doing another site walk in January or February, because there was some areas that we couldn't get to due to the brush along the trail bed. So like I mentioned at the start of the beginning, we don't have any development presentations tonight or anything up for a vote. So with that, we'll move over to old business, new business, general community updates. Regarding the in-person / hybrid meetings, we reached out to Lazarus Church and left a voicemail regarding using their space for future meetings. We also attempted to reach the Orient Heights Yacht Club via phone, but they don't have a voicemail, it seems. It just was like kind of beepy fax noises after a bunch of ringing. So I wasn't able to leave a message there. But we have not reached out to the Salesian Boys and Girls Club yet, as we'd like to have a location that's more central to Orient Heights rather than having folks come down towards Byron Street. I know, Gail, you wanted to discuss the anonymity of the votes. I saw you mention that in the chat earlier. Let's stop sharing this document now.
Yeah, it's come up in another forum, and I just wanted to some clarification. So when we say the votes are anonymous, is anyone, including yourself, privy to those votes? Because how does it line up with addresses and all that?
So what I do is all of the responses that I get through that Google form, I export to a spreadsheet. And then I look at the person's name and then I check the attendance sheet. And if they haven't attended 2 out of the last 3 meetings, at a minimum, I will then look at their address. And then at that point say, okay, they're in a butter to this property. And I either like put their vote column like out of view or just like don't pay attention to it. And then the people who were not qualified to vote on that, whether they're not in a butter or they haven't attended the 2 out of the last 3 monthly meetings, I'll remove their entry from the spreadsheet. So in theory, I could go and look at it, but I don't. I just tally it up at the end after removing folks from the spreadsheet that did not meet the requirements to vote.
So is there a mechanism where there would be a comfort level, whether it's you or whoever sits in a chair position? It's not particular to you. It's just particular to the process. So is there not a way to have it totally anonymous? Because if we're not really anonymous, then we should have a public vote. So I just think that it's compromising in some situations where the votes are not totally anonymous. If you follow me. I mean,
yeah, I get you.
I would like, I personally would like the comfort level that those truly are anonymous, but so, and I'm told it can be. So anyway, so I don't know, I just wanted some clarification, and
yeah, I think it's tough where we want to like vet that the voter is eligible to vote, but also like while like covering one eye so we can't see what they voted on, or what their vote was.
So I get. So my question is, can it not be truly anonymous even to the chair, while verifying they are a legitimate voter? Because I'm told it can be done, so my own assurance level would be satisfied if that were the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to look into a way. There might be some way to just obfuscate it so that we're not, when we pull in all of the information for the voters, it's like just their name and their address and not their vote. And then I'll have to look into finding a way to do that. But
Tony, it's Joanne. Can you hear me? I have a question. Can the Google form, like, you know, when you do the sign up sheet, can that Google form attach a random number to each person? So for example, when their votes come in, it will be under their number and not under their name and address. So for example, you can verify that number if they've attended the last 2 meetings. You can verify that number. Well, I don't know how you can verify the number if they're not a butter though, but that would be the only way I understand it to be totally anonymous is for the Google Form application to actually take the information and assign a number to that person. I don't know if it's possible.
yeah. I feel like there would be a way to reverse engineer that. I can look into it.
Well, we can ask somebody, but Larry's posting that given the technology we have at our disposal, so I'm not sure what technology that is or what it would require.
Yeah, if we could somehow relate a person to their vote without us actually seeing the vote, and then when that person is removed, their vote gets removed, and then all we have are the totals, that would be great. I'm sure it's possible.
Well, could you share what technology you are using, and then I could sort of research it as well and see if there is a way to do it. I mean,
it's the Google form and Google Sheets is what we're using. So we use a Google Sheet for attendance. And I create a spreadsheet with the voting responses. The only thing is then it puts all of that like in plain text, and each response is a row in the spreadsheet. So what I do is just adjust my screen so the actual voting, what they chose to vote on is like not in view. And then I go through and just vet people. It's a manual process, but.
All right. Well, I'll just check and see if there's, I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm not minimizing your expertise in this realm with technology, but I'll just ask if, you know, I mean, I thought whatever we were using might prohibit that ability to do it. So that's why I asked what are we using? So, but I can inquire to see how it's done. If you know, there's not a mechanism for you guys at hand.
Yeah, if you know someone else, like another group that's able to do anonymous voting online while still like vetting the voters.
Yeah, because you'd have to vet the voter, of course.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I got a comment in the chat from Frank Biagiotti asking, does anyone know what is happening on the lot between Marriott and Avis on 1A? Someone has taken down all the brush and is leveling the lot.
The Marriott and Avis. No clue.
I'm trying to think if I had heard of any projects over there, but I don't believe so.
I'd like to, when there's a minute, talk about the 1A project.
Sure. Unless someone else happens to know what's going on in that lot between the Marriott and Avis, I think we can move on to the 1A study if you'd like.
We could maybe ask the hotel. We know people at the hotel, find out if they know anything.
Sure, that works. What about the 1A corridor study did you want to mention?
Well, I would like to, as an observation, when we talk about, I mean, some people might be under the the impression that this is really going to be a valid 1A study, pretty much encompassing, you know, if you want to take it from Bell Circle to the tunnel. This is not that. This is a study to see how best the rail bed can be utilized for the private company that has tractor trailers, freight forwarding business. So it's more about looking at how that might be facilitated, or their facility for using the rail bed for, you know, potential personal use. So the study is narrowing it from Bell Circle to Day Square, and it doesn't really encompass, you know, a real true traffic study. So I think people should be aware of that. And it's more about the intent of the rail bed and how it's ultimately going to be utilized, because the MBTA has the ability right now, as they tried to do over a year ago, I think now, to dispose of it for bids. So that's what we're looking at. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I know that was what kicked off this study, was Cargo Ventures wanting to use that area, that rail bed, for their trucks, to avoid going down, I think 1A directly.
Right.
They are looking to do a lot of like pedestrian improvements, traffic improvements, where people are coming around the corner and can't see the crosswalk, or nobody actually stops for the crosswalk even when they can see. There are a lot of pedestrian improvements that will be a part of this study, but the use of the rail bed is a big part of it. I see you're raising your hand, Mike.
I'm taking myself off mute. I thought you had to do that, Tony. Hi, everyone. Gail, I agree with your statement there. At least that's what I inferred from the 20 or 30 minutes of the meeting that I was able to listen to, and then I had to break off. I know that it's online, and I intend to listen through, or sort of at least preview what was talked about there. What we do need, and I'm hoping this is something that is brought to bear once Lydia is up at the State House, is a broad study of 1A going all the way up to Copeland Circle in North Revere, past the Northgate Shopping Plaza. I understand that some of the property owners that have bought the McClellan Highway are looking for some changes in land use, and that they don't want the property to be port dependent anymore. And Tony, to your point, they are adding some window dressing to the conversation in terms of pedestrian and cycle infrastructure. But to look upon this as a proper traffic and transportation study that is inclusive of this community, it's just not that. We're speaking about a secondary highway that is pressed into service as a primary highway. That road's been obsolete since Richard Nixon was in office. And it's high time that we get some answers from the state about what their real plan is to improve it. When Caesar's Palace was trying to build a casino at Suffolk Downs, they were trying to get Caesars to pay for the improvements. And now they're trying to get HYM to fund at least some of the improvements to 1A. Last time I checked, everybody on this call is paying taxes to the state. Those taxes should fund road improvements from gas taxes and from property taxes. I want to know what the state has in some file cabinet in the state transportation building about improving this road. I think we all have that coming to us. And I've already spoken to Lydia about that. I want that to be on the docket. I've also spoken to Adrian about it. I think what we really need here is an inclusive discussion that also involves the MBTA, they are stakeholders, the Port Authority, they are stakeholders. People are coming to this neighborhood. People are on that highway trying to get to Logan Airport. What do those agencies have to say about it? It's a much more complicated issue than anybody is willing to admit. That doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. My 2 cents.
It's a very good point. When I
I'll
brought
put a hat
up,
on, notice it.
sorry?
I said I'll put my hat back on and no one will notice it.
I think it was Gail that pointed out to me that this study was initially kicked off by Cargo Ventures' interest in using it. So that was a surprise to me. And I mentioned that in our first stakeholder working group meeting. And they were like, yes, that was the initial, reason why we started this, but it's not, the whole thing. It's more the other improvements. But it seems like that might not be entirely accurate. And also looking to sell that rail bed and then have whoever buys it improve the roads doesn't seem right, as you're saying, Mike.
Well, that's the Massachusetts gesture. We build infrastructure and then abandon it to the sands of time and then look for somebody else to pay for it when it's fixed. Because listen, nobody's going to get excited about signing a new concrete spalling mitigation contract. But if you drive up on Route 1A, right over Day Square, the concrete Jersey barriers are disintegrating before our eyes. Every vehicle that drives past there, it's visible and it's exacerbating the problem. That concrete was poured in 1977. Well, when exposed to salt air and road salt and the stresses of hundreds of thousands of vehicles passing it every month, it's starting to decay. But nobody's going to get excited about us awarding a contract to fix it. They want to know what the whole picture is. And again, it's a much more complicated issue than I understand. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a conversation about it. That's why we have governments. Like I believe, this isn't a left and right thing. This is the institution of government is empowered to make sure that the roads are adequate and that they're in good repair. Route 1A is neither. I want somebody in a shirt and tie or in a business suit to come and tell me why, somebody in the state's employ, not a third-party engineer. We have bureau chiefs and commissioners at the state level. I want to know where my tax dollars have been going, because they certainly haven't been going to fix that road. It's an embarrassment.
When we did our site walk, we had some folks with the state there from Department of Transportation, from MBTA. There were traffic consultants.
Yep.
One of the people there commented that in all of the site walks they've done, in all of these, dangerous streets that have tons of accidents, not once had they ever almost seen an accident, had issues like walking through. There was almost a couple times where cars almost hit us. There was almost someone that got rear-ended, and we were only out there for maybe an hour or so walking, and we were standing in one place for a lot of it. So I think it really says something that these people go on all these different sites to do their studies, and 1A has been the most dangerous that they've seen.
Tony, you've heard me say before too, the principal failing of a lot of people that work in traffic engineering and also in disciplines like urban planning are that a lot of the young people that are doing the donkey work on these projects didn't grow up in this part of the country. And I don't want to sound like a nativist. On the contrary, I welcome the energy of new minds and of young minds. I'm 52. I'm yesterday's news. But the truth is, there isn't enough information conveyed to the people that are doing the planning about the unique psychographic of the New England motorist. They come here with solutions that'll work just great in the Sun Belt, or in a city that's a grid, or in a city that doesn't have 100 inches of snow every year. But when you scale it and tailor it to street patterns like we have in Massachusetts, and with road conditions 4 or 5 months of the year like we have in Massachusetts, it just doesn't work. I'm not a genius. I'm just a man with 2 eyes.
And the reality is this corridor has been a critical corridor of concern for, like Mike said, eons. So
we get treated like a cat box, Gail.
Yeah. So I'm not happy about this study. If we want to just talk about the use of the rail bed, that's the study. But to pretend this is a 1A, cure-all, that's just not happening. And just don't come here and insult our intelligence, basically, is what they're doing. So it's not about a traffic study at all. It's about how the freight forwarding company can better facilitate their trucks getting into Massport. And the whole Day Square area is a real cluster too. Now we're going to have a re-envisioning of the Silver Line there. That's going to cut down Chelsea Street, not use the Marty Coughlin bypass. These are trucks that are going to be going behind, say, the library and crisscrossing the Greenway on the back side of the airport. So we're looking at anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 trucks a day being envisioned into the Day Square neighborhood. So, I mean, we're talking about diesel pollution. So, this is not a real study. So, let's call a spade here. So I think it's important for people to realize what's going on behind the scenes.
Definitely good information to have. I feel like that would be something good to push at the next stakeholder meeting, or like if we have a site walk before that next working group. I'll try and push for like more information there and around the actual use of the rail bed, and see if we can get a bit more transparency there. I doubt that they would. I think I asked if there were any other folks that were like, or companies, institutions, whatever, that were interested in using that rail bed. And they said that this study was to find the best use for it. So while Cargo Ventures is interested, I don't know specifics about anybody else who might be interested in it.
Is it going to be a private way? Is it going to be a private way, a public way? Because the only one that has facility, the use of that area, is Cargo Ventures, which has bought all the property, maybe with the exception of one building along the creek. So,
basically land banking.
Yeah. So, bought for the purposes of trying to acquire the rail bed, of course. So,
Tony, I've got a question for you to ask them in your next walkabout.
Sure, let me make a note.
So, Interstate 90 terminates just off of the Logan Airport property, and it turns into the McClellan Highway. Ask your friends from Mass DOT if they can point to another location in the continental United States where an interstate highway ends in an obsolete state highway.
That is a good question. I am saving it right now.
I'd be very curious to hear their response.
Tony, I know you meant, and apologize, I know I'm relatively new to the neighborhood here, but you mentioned a stakeholder meeting for these groups. Is that a separate meeting that they hold where you can speak to, or have them as an audience, those different entities, or is it all done through this neighborhood council as well?
The stakeholder one, they reached out to like the different neighborhood councils along with like elected officials and folks within like the state departments, MBTA. So it's mostly like I'm representing Orient Heights. Matt Barrison is there with HVNA. I'm just trying to kind of echo the sentiments of what everyone says here and in those public meetings that they're holding for this study.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Does anyone happen to have any additional questions or comments? I'm going to post the sign-in form one more time. We have a question from Liliana Isaac Snyder saying, hello, I was wondering if there is anything we can do to try and get more participation on these meetings. We could probably put up flyers, or maybe we can't put things in people's mailboxes, but we could, I feel like when we have abutters, when abutters are notified for developments, I think that gets people into like the design review meetings. I don't know if they would have interest in attending our like monthly meeting, which tends to be more community focused. But we can try, maybe I could put like some flyers up by the train or something that might get people interested. If we don't have any additional comments, we can wrap up tonight. And I will note that our next meeting is on a Tuesday because Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on a Monday. So Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. is our next regularly scheduled Orient Heights Neighborhood Council meeting. The next Design Review Committee meeting is Thursday, January 6th at 6 p.m. And Liliana mentioned, I just feel that 30 to 50 people are not representative of our neighborhood. I agree. I think the most I've seen in our Zoom was 80, I want to say. And that was around the time, I think several folks had, I can't remember what proposal it was, or if it was like an election. But I remember there was one where we had a lot of people in attendance kind of saying they were in support of some proposal, but that was the most that I've seen.
Tony, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
So all of our elected officials have strong following and strong presence on social media. Is there a way that we could ask them to promote not our association, but all of the neighborhood associations in East Boston? Just encouraging people to get involved at this level in civic awareness and really in civic improvements. This is the kind of engagement that people should be encouraged to participate in. But hearing it from a person like Lydia or a person like Adrian, I think might make a difference.
Certainly, we can reach out to them and say, would you mind sharing like the information for like all of East Boston's neighborhood associations? And then see if they can share it with their following.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm suggesting. Yeah.
Oh, and Yamina said, not entirely sure, but I can look into it. And she's the East Boston liaison for Councilor Edwards.
Right on. Thank you, Yamina.
And Gail commented, the numbers we have are pretty much the numbers at other groups, sadly. Maybe we can drum up more interest. We'll have to spin it in a very attractive way. Not that community engagement is not attractive, it should be, but you know, it's not sparkly fancy. And usually people are upset going into a community meeting because they've heard about something they don't like that's happening in their neighborhood.
Do we do anything like that? I think I used to live in Jeffreys Point, and they had like a Christmas party every year where they'd get together and do donations and stuff. Is that something? Does that occur here in Orient Heights anywhere where the neighborhood council sort of put something on?
The only thing that we have had so far event-wise was the state Senate debate earlier this month. But I don't see why we couldn't have like an actual get-together that isn't, you know, a meeting.
guess it's a little tough these times with COVID, but you know, that was something that was an idea, is kind of the neighborhood council would put it on, and I think they had, you know, different businesses sponsored things from, or like little gift baskets from around the neighborhood. One way to bring awareness.
I think like maybe a year or so ago, I had like pie in the sky ideas of like going to the beach and like having food trucks and like little gazebo set up and stuff. And we're still doing pandemic things and having Zoom meetings, so that has not happened yet. Gail commented we should congratulate Lydia Edwards in her successful win for the state Senate seat. The final vote, however, is upcoming, but there won't be any opposing candidate. I believe that vote is in January, although I forget the exact date. Oh, also, I heard that Lena Tremelli is no longer the East Boston liaison for the city. I reached out to the civic engagement chief, Aisha Miller, to ask who is our liaison now. The website, the neighborhood services website, doesn't list East Boston. And if you look at the East Boston neighborhood on their website, the contact area is just blank. So I'm waiting to hear back on that, but hopefully we'll have a response soon, so we'll know who to reach out to for stuff specific to East Boston with the city. Oh, and Stephen has the answer there. Right now, the city is in the process of hiring a new neighborhood liaison. Thank you. Coming in with the answers. This is the second meeting in a row. I think the last meeting, there was an acronym that I didn't know that I've already forgot again. So thank you for that. And Gail said, I think for now, it's the head of D&D. Oh, sorry, she said not D&D, but ONS. And Stephen said, in the meantime, you can send anything along to our office or Councilor Edwards, and we'll make sure the city sees it. That sounds good. Thank you. Does anyone have any additional comments or questions? Doesn't seem like it. All right, well, with that, everyone enjoy your holidays. Happy New Year. We'll be back January 6th with a design review committee meeting. And I guess that is that. Thank you all for attending tonight. I'll try and drum up more attendees for next month. Have a great rest of your year. Take care, everybody.